Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Fishing with James. This is episode 17 of my hand-tied jig series, and today I'm going to be showing you how to tie an unreal looking black and white crappie jig. So let's go ahead and get started. The jig that I'm using today is a 1/8 ounce New Age minnow head. I've painted it with red, white, and black ProTec powder paint and put a 5mm all black eye on it. So first I'm just going to take a little bit of super glue and put it on the hook. That might be a little bit too much, but that's okay because I'll dab it up in just a second. Now I'm just going to take my thread and put a nice little coating of it onto the hook. The thread I'm using today is black Danville's 210 denier flat wax nylon. Now I'm going to go ahead and take care of that extra super glue with a small piece of paper towel. And after that I'm going to cut the tag end of the thread. For the tail for this jig, I'm going to be using a white Marabou feather. So for the length, I want it to be about the length of the hook, and once I have it estimated, I'm going to put it down on the hook in the center and tightly wrap my thread about 10 times to secure the feather to the hook. Once I see that I have it how I like it, I'm going to take my thread and begin wrapping the feather very tightly all the way up to the head of the jig. Once that's done, I'm going to take my scissors and cut the feather as close as I can to the hook, and then take my thread and tightly wrap some more onto the feather just to make sure that it's secured all the way. For the flash for this jig, I'm going to be using some black crystal flash. This will give the tail a nice black accent. I usually take half of a full strand and cut it in half again and double it, and that's what I use for the flash. So I'm going to put it up by the head, tie a few wraps of thread in, and rotate it 90 degrees. That way there's flash on both sides of the jig. Then I'm going to wrap it in very tightly with thread. For sizing, I'm just going to cut it right past the end of the Marabou feather, just like that. Now for the body, I'm going to be using some black ruby medium custom chenille. So I'm just going to take the end of the strand and start tying it in at the head of the jig, all the way down, even with where I've tied everything else. I usually turn my vise sideways where I can see exactly where I'm tying to. Then I'm going to go all the way back up to the head with the thread. Now to fill in the body, I'm going to take the rotary function of my vise and slowly begin rotating it to spin the chenille onto the body. You want to make sure it stays uniform, and you're going to go all the way up to the head of the jig. Next, I'm going to take my thread and begin going under and over the chenille at the head of the jig just to tie it in as tightly as I can. After that, I'm just going to cut the tag into the chenille and pull out any fuzzy bits that want to stay behind. And then I'm going to take my whip finishing tool and do a double whip finish. So I'm going to do a handful of wraps for the first time and pull it tight. And then another handful of wraps for a second time and pull it tight as well. Now I'm just going to cut the thread, and there you go, a super cool looking black and white crappie jig. Now all that's left to do is to bag these jigs up, put a sticker on the bag, and these things are ready to get out and catch some fish. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you're new, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next episode of Hand Tied Jigs.